Hello boys, this is solo hardcore, my first time ever actually doing it. I start off here on Crossroads and as the title said, I'm going to be using cryomancer. Again, this is like my first time ever trying to solo hardcore because I never really got around to it, so I wanted to see, maybe cryomancer is going to make it pretty easy. I decided to do this on Crossroads because, well, I was using Mini, and Crossroads has a really good loop for Mini to be able to utilize its range. Now before I get more into it, this video, let's just try a little more relaxed style here. Leave a like, hop into full screen as I show you here the process of solo hardcore, I guess. And yeah, here we go really. I had to skip the first few waves in order to be able to afford my cowboy because, well, I only start off with $700 and there's inflation in hardcore, which is pretty annoying. Regardless, I managed to get the cowboy a couple of rounds later. I place it in a spot that I think is going to be pretty good when I upgrade it because it gets more range as you upgrade it. And the first few waves, I kind of skipped, kind of didn't, some waves, I don't even remember that clearly. My goal was to upgrade the cowboy to gold shot because at that point is where it makes more money. And just as I thought it gets more range, now it can see the entire loop. But I was leaking quite a bit of enemies because, well, I had to skip in order to get it. And also the wave timers were really short. So I ended up losing a lot of HP, but it was going to be fine. I placed down another golden cowboy because I needed it. And the early waves were kind of smooth sailing here. There were some hefties, but those weren't that much of a problem either. The wave gave us more than enough time to handle those. And at this point I was mainly saving up money because on wave 10 there's going to be invisible enemies. So I needed to upgrade my cowboy, which is exactly what I did. Now after this I was going to have to save up for flying detection, which was going to be a mortar. And this is where things didn't exactly go to plan. Well, first I didn't really have the best placements for it, so I just chose to place it a little closer to the front. But as for the way it kills balloons, well, it really doesn't do a great job. It would need a lot more room in order to take care of all of the balloons. I ended up just straight up leaking one. That was going to be okay though because I somehow survived. But that didn't really mean much because I would die to an invisible enemy on the next wave. I could have skipped in order to upgrade a cowboy, but having two level 3 cowboys isn't exactly efficient for making money anyways, so I decided to try again on a different map. This would make it my second attempt at solo hardcore, and well, you'll get to see how far I made it. Anyways, I unpaused my recording here at wave 16 when I started placing down my cryomancers. The plan here was to freeze down the leads in order to give my cowboys as much time to shoot at the leads, make as much money as possible, And that idea actually worked pretty great. You could see how slow the lead is moving, and my cowboys just keep making me money. Now eventually when the mortars started attacking, well, that would start killing off the leads, but they had to be killed off anyways. It's not like I could tank them. Really, the goal is to just use up as much of the wave as possible before starting to destroy the leads. On wave 17 there were mysteries, but they were way too clustered for my cryomancers to be able to freeze any lead behind. Still though, leads are a good thing to get because cowboys shoot at them making money, but they don't do damage, so it's basically an infinite money farm if you somehow manage to stall out a lead forever. Anyways, I would keep placing down cowboys because I needed to make as much money as possible while the leads were frozen. The lead bosses were a very good way for me to farm money. Like, I'm straight up able to afford cowboys during the round just because my other cowboys make me enough money to do so. But on wave 19 I couldn't keep spamming cowboys, it was going to be a slow boss this wave. So after just getting one more cowboy, I set all my stuff on strongest. And that got all of my cowboys to focus on the slow boss. The lead bosses in the front, well, those weren't going to be much of an issue. I could let them by in order for the mortar to kill them. Thankfully, the cryomancers also slowed down the slow boss quite a lot, which gave my cowboys more than enough time to do all the damage they needed to do. There were more lead bosses the next round, and well, for that, I just spammed more cowboys, because my 3 cryomancers would stall out the leads long enough for me to make as much money as possible, which is why I kept getting more cowboys. The slow boss died without a problem, and then I got a commander, because at this point I think I had more than enough cowboys to the point where buffing them would actually be more efficient than just straight up buying more. And yeah, I think that was the right decision. Other than that, I had to get a minigunner down at the back because there was going to be a shadow boss in 2 rounds, and none of my cowboys at the front have hidden detection, neither do the cryomancers, so I just upgraded the mini at the back. I wanted to get it up to level 4, but I don't think I had enough money. Yeah, I was making a lot because my cryos were freezing the lead bosses, but it wasn't enough for me to upgrade the minigunner, so I was just hoping that the defense I had was going to be enough. The boss made it all the way to the back, and I noticed that, well, it wasn't gonna die, so I placed down another minigunner and upgraded, and somehow survived on 2 HP. Back at the front, I was placing down more cryomancers just to buy my cowboys even more time to attack the enemies, and it was clearly working. Everything was moving a lot slower. But on next round, wave 25, I was going to have no choice other than to upgrade my minigunners because it was going to be shadow bosses. Cryomancers, again, don't have hidden detection. Neither does all of my stuff at the front. So after killing the mega slows, I got enough money to upgrade one of my minis, and then I had to place down a commander because without it, I would not have done enough DPS to kill the hidden bosses. And so everything worked out in the end, and I went back to spamming cowboys further up front. Well, not really spamming, because I did have to place down some mortars. There was just a ton of stuff and a lot of leads. I didn't exactly want to die, so I, beefed up my defense. Back at the front though, again, it was fallen rushers on wave 27. These things got slowed down to oblivion by the cryomancers, which is why cryo is probably the best tower in the game right now. I wouldn't want to call it better than farmer commander, but when comparing cryo with something like jester, I just have to give the title to cryo. It just slows down enemies so much, there's nothing in the game quite like it. The cash farm off of these leads is just something absolutely insane. I mean, look at my money. I'm making thousands of dollars just by slowing down some leads and having cowboys shoot at them. Isn't that a cool strategy? I mean, it only really works in hardcore because other modes don't have leads, but I guess that's just why this tower is so good, especially if you were in a trio and you had golden cowboys. I could see everybody on the team making a ton of money. Now, even when the enemies were getting more difficult, just the amount of cowboys would have all the DPS needed to take him down. But eventually, when stuff started leaking, I would get down a minigunner and start upgrading it to max. That put the minigunner there because I didn't want it at the front. I didn't want it killing off the enemies too quick. I wanted all the cowboys to be farming as much shots as possible while the enemies were being slowed down. Although I would be working on max minigunners a little bit further back. This is because the bosses like Gravedigger, they're not going to die at the front. Even if I put all my golden minis there, I was just gonna need more time, so yeah, that's why I was putting them in the middle. It was also a fantastic spot. It was all in range of the commander. And then came out a Fallen Titan. This thing was going to be pretty annoying because it just kept stunning the crap out of my stuff. Like, I really barely got any time to slow it down. But when I did get time to slow it down, I mean, it really slowed it down. Yeah, that's just why cryo is kind of OP. It slows down everything regardless of what it is. Whether it's a boss, whether it's a normal. It'll just slow it down. The only issue with that is it can't slow down no freeze enemies, which gets pretty annoying, but that kind of keeps it balanced. You gotta still have good DPS even if you're slowing everything down. And yeah, the 30s went by pretty quickly. I was just getting down more minis, getting prepared for Gravedigger because I thought it was on wave 35. This is because, well, I haven't played hardcore in like a year, and it's pretty surprising that I'm actually able to survive as well as I am. It's just cryo is such a useful tower. It helps out so much. But yeah, I started working on a max commander because, well, I wanted all my towers to be in range of it. I made kind of a bad decision with placing 2 of my mortars because I could have placed them closer to the commanders, but I didn't because I just didn't think of that. But it wasn't really going to be that big of an issue. By the time the Gravedigger rolled around, I already had 4, I believe, golden minigunners. And I also had some max level golden cowboys. This was again to make as much money as possible. And it really was working. I mean, I was making so much money. And yeah, when the Gravedigger came out, it was frozen by the cryos, which is actually so funny. The fact that a boss this big by such a tiny little tower just gets like 30% easier, that's ridiculous. Correction on what I said earlier, I only had 3 golden minis, 2 of which were maxed. But in order to make it a lot easier to take this boss down, I was just moving around a cryo. I was selling and rebuying it to keep slowing down the Gravedigger, and it was working. In the end, yep, the Gravedigger ended up dying without much of an issue, and I had $60,000 to work with, so I maxed out some cryos and then put some more money into my defense, as anybody would do. Enemies were starting to get pretty clustered up, but you can see the amount of cryos I have just pretty much slows down entire hordes like they're nothing. Combined with max mortars, of course, that was going to be doing so much damage that I pretty much had to not worry about anything. Yeah, from here, I was just maxing out cowboys, maxing out mortars, just upgrading my defenses in general. Lead balloons were also no issue because mortars can hit them. And all the way up until wave 40, the enemies basically didn't get anywhere past the first turn. Even Slowkings, look at those. They have thousands of HP, but they get slowed down quite a lot by these cryos. I also believe that these cryos have defense melting so that all the enemies they attack, if the enemy has defense, its defense gets lowered, which makes it an even better tower than it already is. You can just see that nothing can move when it's inside of cryo's range. So as I was saying, early 40s, also no issue. There were circuits, also no issue. I did too much DPS for them to be able to kill me. But the issue started appearing when the Speedy Kings came out because they are no freeze. So that meant I had to rely on the golden minigunners I had further back in order to take him down, and I'm glad I had him there because I did need to put him to use. I also remembered I had stuff in the back, so I just sold it real quick and went back to upgrading stuff at the front. I placed down even more cryos because I was wanting stun baits for later. I was thinking, I don't know, that the Fallen Titans, those were pretty annoying. I'd want to bait those. And then there was, of course, the Molten Boss. You couldn't really exactly bait the Molten Boss, but they would just help slow him down. And yeah, thanks to the max cryos and all of that, he was slowed down so much that I actually ended up killing him at the front without even using the golden minigunners farther back. Now I should mention that cryomancer, because of its debuff, actually increases the amount of damage all your towers do to frozen stuff, which makes towers like a minigunner especially overpowered if you're pairing it with cryomancer. This just makes my strategy even better, makes this loadout even better for hardcore. Now, despite how easily things were going, how I was destroying everything at the front, this run wasn't exactly going to be the one. I'd managed to deal with 45, yes, with all that stuff speeding by, but when it came to wave 46, there was a group of mysteries at the start of the round that came out, and out of about 10 mysteries, I got like 8 circuits. So yeah, I think I probably got the worst RNG you could possibly get on this wave. The circuits, even while frozen, sped by all of my stuff, and I ended up dying. Now, unfortunately, this run is all I had time for. I tried again, but I also died to RNG. But my goal wasn't exactly to win, it was just to see how good Cryomancer is on hardcore, and I can without a doubt say it's a really amazing tower for hardcore. And considering I made it this far, like my second attempt I've ever done on solo hardcore, I think it's pretty safe to say that Cryo's good. Now once again, like, subscribe, use star code E if you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.